We will not tolerate it. We will not stand for that.
Karoline Leavitt just got humiliated on live TV, and it came from someone you probably wouldn't expect, Stephen Colbert.
And the press secretary of the White House has, on multiple occasions, again, for reasons that are unclear, refused to say who is in charge.
But instead of taking any accountability, Karoline Leavitt had only one target to blame, the media.
Some of the comments that you refer to are nothing more than a failed attempt from the media and from Democrats to try to sow division in this White House.
In this video, I'll be breaking down exactly what went down between Karoline Leavitt and Stephen Colbert. The setup, Leavitt's controversial claim, and Colbert's response. For those who might not be familiar with the key players in this dramatic confrontation, allow me to set the stage with some essential context. Karoline Leavitt, at just 27 years old, made history as the youngest White House press secretary ever appointed when she took on the role in January 2025, following President Donald Trump's return to the White House. Her rapid ascent through Republican politics has been nothing short of remarkable. From her early days studying politics and communication at St. Anselm College, to working in Trump's first administration, to serving as his campaign spokesperson before landing this prestigious position. Leavitt's youth and meteoric rise have made her a figure of both fascination and scrutiny in equal measure. Her appointment wasn't just notable for breaking age records, it also signaled the continuation of a confrontational approach to media relations that has become something of a hallmark for Trump administrations. Since taking office, Leavitt has established herself as a staunch defender of Trump's policies and messaging, often adopting a combative stance toward what she and the administration frequently characterize as biased mainstream media. On the other side of this confrontation stands Stephen Colbert, host of CBS's The Late Show with Stephen Colbert since 2015, and a veteran satirist who has built his career on political commentary. Colbert has been a persistent critic of Trump through both his administrations, using humor and satire to highlight what he perceives as inconsistencies, contradictions, and concerning elements of Trump's governance. Colbert's satirical approach to the Trump presidency has made him a polarizing figure, beloved by those who share his political leanings and dismissed by those who support the administration. His show has become a nightly platform for dissecting the day's political events through a decidedly critical lens, and the Trump administration has frequently found itself in Colbert's comedic crosshairs. The specific incident that has captured public attention and inspired countless headlines occurred in late February 2025. During a White House press briefing on February 25, 2025, Karoline Leavitt was addressing questions about an email that had been sent by Elon Musk to federal employees. This email, which had caused significant confusion within government ranks, required employees to list their weekly accomplishments or face what was characterized as an assumption of resignation. When pressed about this controversial directive and the mixed messaging that appeared to be coming from both Musk and Trump, Leavitt made a statement that would soon become infamous and the perfect fodder for late-night comedy. She stated unequivocally, and let me be very clear, the president and Elon and his entire cabinet are working as one unified team, and they are implementing these very common-sense solutions. This assertion of unity and cohesion within an administration that many observers had characterized as chaotic immediately raised eyebrows among the press corps. The claim of a unified team struck many as contradicting the visible confusion caused by Musk's email, which had reportedly received mixed reactions of compliance and defiance among federal employees. The directive had created a palpable sense of uncertainty within government departments, yet here was the press secretary presenting a picture of seamless coordination and common purpose. The opportunity for satirical commentary was simply too perfect for Colbert to resist. The very next evening, on February 26, 2025, Colbert addressed Leavitt's unified team claim during his monologue on The Late Show. Rather than simply quoting her statement and making a quick joke, Colbert crafted an elaborate comedic bit that would come to be seen as one of his most scathing and memorable critiques of the administration. Colbert chose to illustrate what he perceived as the absurdity of Leavitt's claim by portraying himself as an unhinged football coach, giving wildly contradictory and nonsensical instructions to his team. This character, a coach ostensibly attempting to create a unified team while actually fostering complete chaos, served as a biting metaphor for the Trump administration's management style as Colbert perceives it. In the sketch, Colbert, adopting the persona of this manic coach, shouted, "Get out there and do literally the first insane thing that comes to your mind, okay? No bad ideas. Hank, you sit on the ball and try to hatch it like an egg. Timmy, you knit me a scarf out of your own hair. The rest of you, I don't know, I don't care. Maybe lay on the grass and act like you're swimming in it, all right? Surprise me. This absurdist portrait of leadership was clearly designed to highlight what Colbert saw as the contradiction between Leavitt's claim of unity and the apparent disarray within the administration. The sketch resonated with Colbert's audience and quickly gained traction online, with clips spreading across social media platforms and accumulating millions of views within hours. Multiple news outlets, including HuffPost and Yahoo News, reported on Colbert's monologue, emphasizing how the host had used chaotic comedy to satirize the administration's claims of coordination and unity. The headlines framed the segment as Colbert eviscerating Leavitt's claim in a bonkers rant, language that itself contributed to the narrative of a dramatic confrontation between the administration and its comedic critics. It's worth noting the broader context in which this exchange occurred. The relationship between the Trump administration and the media, including late-night comedy, has long been characterized by tension and mutual antagonism. From his first term, Trump frequently labeled critical media coverage as fake news and portrayed journalists as enemies of the people. This posture has continued into his second term, with figures like Leavitt often echoing similar sentiments in their interactions with the press. Colbert, for his part, has been one of Trump's most consistent critics in late-night television, regularly using his platform to challenge and satirize the administration's policies and communications. His approach to the unified team claim represents not an isolated incident, but another chapter in an ongoing narrative of political satire targeting the administration. The resulting discourse around this incident reveals much about the polarized nature of American political conversation. For critics of the administration, Colbert's sketch represented a humorous but incisive critique of what they perceive as dysfunction and chaotic governance. For supporters of the administration, the segment likely reinforced perceptions of media bias and unfair treatment of Trump and his team. What makes this particular exchange noteworthy is the clarity with which it illustrates the contrasting narratives being presented to the American public. On one hand, the official White House messaging through Leavitt presents an image of coherent, unified leadership working together toward common goals. On the other, Colbert's satirical take suggests a reality of contradiction, confusion, and lack of coordination. The truth, as is often the case in politics, likely lies somewhere in between these competing narratives. What remains undeniable, however, is the power of political satire to shape public perception and drive conversation around governance and leadership. As this story continued to develop, it would take an unexpected and troubling turn, with the emergence of misleading content that would further complicate an already complex narrative. But before we delve into that aspect, it's essential to understand the broader context of Leavitt's role and the controversies that have surrounded her brief but eventful tenure as White House press secretary. The escalation, misinformation, and the fake debate. As Colbert's satirical takedown of Leavitt's unified team claim circulated widely across social media and news platforms, an unexpected and disturbing phenomenon began to emerge, one that would add yet another layer of complexity to an already multifaceted story. Beginning in February 2025 and continuing through April, a series of videos appeared on YouTube and other platforms claiming to show Karoline Leavitt directly confronting Stephen Colbert on The Late Show. These videos, with sensationalistic titles like "Karoline Leavitt shuts down Stephen Colbert after his insane on-air attack" and "Karoline Leavitt just humiliated Stephen Colbert and Stephen erupts," purported to show a dramatic face-to-face confrontation between the White House press secretary and the late-night host. In these supposed debates, Leavitt was portrayed as confidently rebutting Colbert's criticisms and leaving him speechless or flustered. The videos presented what appeared to be footage from The Late Show, featuring Leavitt as a guest, engaging in heated exchanges with Colbert over administration policies, Trump's leadership, and even specific issues like tariffs and media access. Some versions depicted Colbert asking pointed questions about Trump's economic policies, with Leavitt ostensibly delivering devastating comebacks that left the host struggling to respond. These videos spread rapidly across social media platforms, particularly among conservative audiences eager to see a representative of the Trump administration confronting a perceived liberal critic. View counts quickly climbed into the tens of thousands, with some reportedly exceeding 60,000 views. Comments sections filled with supporters praising Leavitt's supposed poise and debating prowess, celebrating what they saw as a rare moment of a conservative voice triumphing in mainstream media. There was just one problem: none of it was real. Fact-checking organizations, including Snopes, quickly identified these videos as fabricated content. On April 18, 2025, Snopes published a comprehensive debunking of the supposed debate, categorizing the videos as altered or synthetic content and confirming that no such confrontation had ever taken place. This assessment was subsequently corroborated corroborated by Yahoo News and Meow News, which reached similar conclusions. A White House spokesperson officially denied Leavitt's appearance on the show, confirming what careful observers had already suspected. The press secretary had never been a guest on The Late Show and had certainly never engaged in the kind of dramatic showdown depicted in these viral videos. Lifehacker, in a report published on April 22, 2025, described the videos as crude fakes, noting that despite their obviously manufactured nature, they had managed to fool thousands of viewers. Technical analyses suggested that these videos were likely created using artificial intelligence technologies designed to manipulate existing footage or generate entirely new content. The fabricated debates depicted scenarios that never occurred. Colbert interviewing Leavitt about Trump's tariff policies, questioning her about media access restrictions, or challenging her on administration hiring decisions. In reality, Leavitt had never appeared on Colbert's show in any capacity, and the two had never engaged in direct conversation, let alone the kind of dramatic confrontation portrayed in these misleading videos. This proliferation of misinformation added a troubling new dimension to the already contentious relationship between the administration and its media critics. It exemplified the growing challenge of navigating a media environment where sophisticated technologies can be used to create convincing but entirely fictional content that serves particular political narratives. While YouTube eventually marked many of these videos as altered or synthetic content, the damage had already been done. Thousands of viewers had been exposed to this misinformation, with many apparently accepting it at face value. The incident highlighted the ease with which artificial content can spread in today's media ecosystem, particularly when it aligns with viewers' existing beliefs or preferences. The fake debate videos represented a concerning evolution in political misinformation, moving beyond simple textual falsehoods to sophisticated visual manipulations that can be far more convincing to casual observers. They demonstrated how easily the boundary between satire and deception can be crossed when powerful content creation tools are deployed without ethical constraints. This phenomenon also revealed something important about the public's appetite for direct confrontation between political figures and their critics. The enthusiasm with which these fake videos were received suggests a desire among many viewers to see representatives of opposing political viewpoints directly challenging each other, rather than speaking to separate audiences through their respective platforms. Against this backdrop of misinformation, it's worth examining the broader context of Leavitt's tenure as press secretary and the controversies that have defined her brief but eventful time in this high-profile role. While the specific unified team claim and Colbert's response represent just one episode, they reflect larger patterns in both Leavitt's approach to her position and the media's response to the administration. Karoline Leavitt's appointment as White House press secretary at just 27 years old was historic, making her the youngest person ever to hold this position. However, her youth and rapid ascent have also made her a target for critics who question her experience and qualifications for such a significant role. Prior to her appointment, Leavitt had served as Trump's campaign press secretary and had previously worked in the White House communications office during his first term. She had also run unsuccessfully for Congress in New Hampshire's 1st District in 2022, losing the general election but gaining valuable political experience in the process. Trump announced her appointment on November 15, 2024, praising her as smart, tough, and highly effective. Since taking office in January 2025, Leavitt has been embroiled in several controversies beyond the unified team claim that caught Colbert's attention. These controversies have centered on her handling of press briefings, her statements about administration policies, and her interactions with journalists. One significant area of controversy has been Leavitt's approach to media access and press freedom. Reports indicate that under her oversight, the White House has implemented changes to press pool management that some journalists have characterized as restricting access for outlets perceived as critical of the administration. In February 2025, the White House reportedly took control of the press pool from the White House Correspondents Association, a move that raised concerns among traditional media outlets. Peter Baker, chief White House correspondent for the New York Times, was quoted as saying, "It's clear they're sending a message. If we write or broadcast something they don't like, we can be punished by having access to the pool cut off." Leavitt has defended these changes, arguing that they expand access to a wider array of media voices, particularly non-traditional and digital platforms that reach younger audiences. During an Axios event on April 25, 2025, she stated, "It's not about ideology, it's about increasing the wide array of outlets that have access." Critics, however, have suggested that these changes primarily benefit outlets sympathetic to the administration while marginalizing more critical voices. Another controversy emerged around a lawsuit titled Associated Press v. Budowich, in which Leavitt was named as a defendant. This legal action stemmed from the White House's decision to block the Associated Press from attempting attending press events due to a disagreement over the naming of the Gulf of Mexico. According to reports, the administration insisted that media outlets refer to it as the Gulf of America, a term not widely recognized, and restricted access for the AP when it refused to comply with this directive. Beyond her professional controversies, Leavitt's personal life has also attracted public attention, particularly her marriage to Nicholas Riccio, a 59-year-old real estate developer. The 32-year age gap between them has been the subject of public curiosity, though Leavitt herself has addressed it openly, referring to their relationship as an atypical love story during an appearance on The Megyn Kelly Show. These various aspects of Leavitt's background and tenure provide essential context for understanding the significance of her unified team claim and Colbert's satirical response. They illustrate the complex and often contentious relationship between the Trump administration and the media, a relationship that has been characterized by mutual suspicion and frequent conflict. The fabricated debate videos that emerged in the wake of Colbert's sketch represent an unfortunate but perhaps inevitable evolution of this conflict in the age of AI and easily manipulated digital content. They demonstrate how quickly misinformation can spread when it aligns with existing narratives and how challenging it can be to correct the record once false information has gained traction. As we continue to explore this multifaceted story, it's important to consider the broader implications of both the original exchange between Leavitt and Colbert and the subsequent spread of misinformation. What do these events tell us about the state of political discourse, media literacy, and the increasingly blurred lines between information, entertainment, and propaganda in contemporary America? The aftermath, broader implications, and continuing tensions. The aftermath of the Leavitt-Colbert incident and the subsequent spread of misinformation reveals several significant patterns in contemporary political communication and media consumption. As we examine these broader implications, it becomes clear that this episode is emblematic of larger tensions that continue to shape American political discourse. First and foremost, this incident highlights the enduring power of political satire in framing public perception of political figures and administrations. Colbert's comedic take on Leavitt's unified team claim didn't merely entertain his audience. It offered an alternative narrative that directly challenged the official White House messaging. Through humor and exaggeration, Colbert created a memorable metaphor that likely influenced how many viewers understood the dynamics within the Trump administration. This is consistent with Colbert's broader approach to political commentary throughout both Trump administrations, from mocking Trump's alleged leaking of classified information to Russian officials in 2017 to criticizing his request for Ukraine to investigate Joe Biden in 2019. Colbert has consistently used humor to dissect and critique the actions of Trump and his team. His approach reflects a long tradition of political satire in American culture, from Mark Twain to Saturday Night Live, that uses comedy to speak truth to power and make complex political issues accessible to broader audiences. The effectiveness of this approach is evidenced by the rapid spread of Colbert's unified team sketch across social media and news platforms, extending its reach far beyond the show's immediate audience. However, the fake debate videos that emerged in the wake of Colbert's critique point to a more troubling trend: the weaponization of misinformation in political discourse. These fabricated confrontations between Leavitt and Colbert represent a sophisticated form of disinformation that exploits viewers' desire for dramatic political confrontation and their existing biases about media figures. The rapid spread of these videos, despite their clearly manufactured nature, suggests that many viewers were predisposed to believe in a narrative where a representative of the Trump administration triumphs over a perceived liberal critic. This confirmation bias, the tendency to readily accept information that aligns with one's existing beliefs, is a powerful force in today's media ecosystem and a significant barrier to shared understanding across political divides. The incident also underscores the challenges posed by emerging technologies like AI-generated content. As these tools become more sophisticated and accessible, distinguishing between genuine and fabricated content will become increasingly difficult for average users. This technological evolution threatens to further erode trust in media and exacerbate existing political polarization by creating entirely separate information ecosystems for different political communities. Looking more specifically at Leavitt's role as press secretary, this episode reflects the challenging position she occupies at the intersection of the administration, the media, and the public. As the youngest person ever to hold this position, Leavitt faces unique scrutiny and expectations. Her handling of the Colbert response, or lack thereof, as she did not publicly address his satirical critique, speaks to the administration's broader strategy of engaging selectively with media criticism. This selective engagement is further evidenced by Leavitt's documented approach to media interactions, which has often involved direct criticism of journalists and outlets perceived as hostile to the administration. For instance, she has described some media figures as propagandists and anti-Trump haters, language that reinforces the narrative of an adversarial relationship between the administration and much of the press corps. In March 2025, during a press briefing addressing a leaked Signal chat involving administration officials, Leavitt accused Democrats and propagandists in the mainstream media of fabricating, orchestrating, and disseminating a misinformation campaign. She specifically called out Jeffrey Goldberg of The Atlantic as an anti-Trump hater, illustrating her confrontational approach to media critics. This confrontational stance extends to her handling of specific policy questions. When asked by an NBC reporter about voter discontent over Trump's Department of Government efficiency, DOGE cuts, in February 2025, Leavitt responded by questioning the media's motives. Why is the media so against cutting waste, fraud, and abuse from the government? We will not be deterred from people like you in the press who are clearly, adamantly opposed. These examples illustrate a consistent pattern in Leavitt's approach to her role, one that prioritizes defending the administration's narrative even when it means directly challenging or dismissing media questioning. This approach has earned her praise from Trump supporters, who view her as a strong advocate for the administration's agenda in the face of perceived media bias. Indeed, conservative media outlets like Fox News have generally portrayed Leavitt positively, highlighting her forceful defense of administration policies and officials. When she disputed an NPR report claiming Trump was seeking a new Secretary of Defense to replace Pete Hegseth, Fox News framed her response as skewering NPR for publishing fake news, emphasizing her strong support for Hegseth and portrayal of the report as biased and inaccurate. This positive portrayal stands in stark contrast to the coverage in more liberal-leaning outlets, which have often highlighted what they perceive as Leavitt's combative or evasive tendencies in press interactions. The Irish Star, for instance, reported on an incident where Leavitt was humiliated when a reporter corrected her claim that a judge was a Democratic activist, pointing out that the judge had actually been appointed by Republican President George W. Bush. These divergent portrayals of Leavitt across different media ecosystems illustrate the broader fragmentation of American political discourse. Depending on their media consumption habits, Americans are likely to encounter radically different narratives about Leavitt, the Trump administration, and political events in general, a phenomenon that the fake debate videos both exploited and exacerbated. It's also worth considering how this incident connects to Leavitt's documented history of controversies beyond her media interactions. Reports have highlighted issues related to campaign finance violations during her 2022 congressional run, alleged hypocrisy on voter fraud claims, and involvement with Project 2025, despite previous denials of connection to the Conservative Policy Initiative. According to January 2025 reporting, Leavitt allegedly spent approximately $200,000 in excessive contributions during her congressional campaign, only repaying some entities after a Federal Election Commission inquiry. This issue raised questions about her campaign's financial management and transparency, adding another dimension to the controversies surrounding her rise to her current position. Similarly, her approach to election integrity claims has drawn scrutiny. While promoting the claim that the 2020 presidential election was stolen from Donald Trump, Leavitt reportedly refused to answer questions about how she could trust her own 2022 primary election results while questioning the 2020 election's integrity. When pressed on this apparent contradiction, she abruptly ended an interview, a response that critics characterized as hypocritical. Regarding Project 2025, despite stating in an August 2024 interview that Project 2025 has nothing to do with our campaign, evidence emerged that Leavitt had contributed to the initiative's Conservative Governance 101 Inches training program and appeared in a video titled The Art of Professionalism, sharing insights from her time in Trump's first administration. This contradiction between her public denials and documented participation fueled accusations of dishonesty. These various controversies provide important context for understanding Leavitt's position as she faced Colbert's satirical critique. They suggest a pattern of confrontational media relations, selective engagement with criticism, and disputed claims that has characterized her brief but eventful tenure as press secretary. Returning to the specific unified team claim and Colbert's response, it's clear that this exchange reflects deeper tensions in American political communication. Leavitt's assertion of unity within the administration represented an attempt to project strength and coherence in the face of apparent confusion. Colbert's satirical take offered a counter-narrative that resonated with critics of the administration who perceived chaos rather than coordination. The fake debate videos that followed highlight the danger of misinformation in this highly polarized environment. By creating an entirely fabricated confrontation between Leavitt and Colbert. These videos not only misled viewers, but also reinforced existing narratives about media bias and political conflict. As this story continues to evolve, it serves as a cautionary tale about the challenges of distinguishing truth from fiction in contemporary political discourse. It reminds us of the power of satire to shape public perception, the persistence of misinformation in digital spaces, and the increasingly fragmented nature of our shared information ecosystem. In the final analysis, the Leavitt-Colbert incident is not merely an isolated exchange between a White House press secretary and a late-night comedian. It is a microcosm of larger trends in American political communication, trends that continue to shape how citizens understand their government, their media, and ultimately, their democracy. As we navigate this complex landscape of competing narratives and sophisticated misinformation, maintaining a critical perspective and seeking out diverse, reliable sources of information becomes not just good practice but an essential civic responsibility. The ability to distinguish between satire, legitimate critique, and outright fabrication may well be one of the most crucial skills for citizens in the digital age. The story of Karoline Leavitt, Stephen Colbert, and the fabricated debate that never happened serves as both a fascinating case study and a sobering warning about the challenges that lie ahead in our increasingly complex information environment. That brings us to the end of this video. For more interesting videos like this, click on the cards on your screen